So I normally stream every single question period. Now, question period takes place normally, depending on the sitting calendar, Monday to Friday. And that's at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And this is all done on House of Canada. I highly recommend you come over to that channel and you join that community. It's phenomenal. The streams get absolutely insane. Now, what I don't normally do is Fridays. I normally stay away from Fridays because I am on the West Coast, and so it's moved earlier. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And normally it's the B team. It's not really, you don't got Pierre, you don't got Trudeau. It's other MPs that have an opportunity to speak. And you can see, as we're about to take a look in the footage, the House is usually significantly empty compared to what it normally is. Now, today, I decided, you know what? The wife's out with the kids. It's kind of a cold day. Why not just stream? What could happen? What could go wrong? Or in this case, what could be some information that I stumble upon that's actually breaking news? And it turns out that I stumbled upon it. So after question period took place, we're going to have a mixture of both of the footage. After question period took place, there was some points of order, and then they started to talk about pretty much this government freeze. A Conservative MP stood up and broke down exactly every single thing that is happening, from the Arrive scam to the Randys to the SDTC to the slush funds to everything. Broke down the reasoning as to the Conservatives doing that. And I've described this, you might even see it in the clips. I've described this as what the Conservatives are doing. It's completely legal. It's never been done before. So just to kind of summarize everything in my own words before we take a look at this footage, the Conservatives have been trying to have the Liberals held accountable for these very real, very criminal scams that they've been going about for many, many years, wastefully spending hundreds of millions, if not billions, of our taxpayers' money. Along with all these sketchy deals, they are, getting their friends rich and themselves rich in the process. And it's extremely corrupt. It's unethical, but it's very criminal. And they are protected under Parliament. Parliamentary privilege usually protects words, but when Parliament investigates itself, you have other parties that can pretty much block these investigations from happening. And you've seen this from time to time. So my best description of what is going on is the Conservatives have been spinning their heads as to how can we nail them to the wall with all this criminal behavior. They went to the police, which is kind of crazy. They got information from a whistleblower and they said, you know what, that's it, we're going to the police. They went to the police. The RCMP is literally, officially investigating criminally Justin Trudeau and all of this slush fund, all of this, what's going on. So my best description, how I pictured him in my head, is that the Conservatives went down into the basement of Parliament. They went into the cellar. It's not a door. It's not a lock and key. It's an old school, the metal jail, the walls, right? And they unlatched it. They pull it to the side and they go in there with their lantern and they're looking for the book. And you're going to see the book. You're going to see the book that I'm talking about. And they find the book through a bunch of cobwebs and they take off the book. They pick up the book and they smack off all the dust and they say, this is it. This is the Hail Mary book. And that is the book that you're going to see the Conservative member, while he's telling this story, telling us everything that's going on with all these scams, all this criminal investigation, he references the book. It's stacked up with sticky notes. And so I'm kind of impressed, not with myself, but just in general, that I just so happen to stream on a day that I don't normally stream and stumble upon this Hail Mary information that breaks down literally from the horse's mouth, the Conservative MP's mouth, of what is happening, the severity of what is happening. So sit back, relax. It's Friday. Grab yourself coffee, grab yourself a beer, kick up your feet, do what you got to do. Smash the like button, subscribe, head over to the merch site, link down below in the description or the pinned comment below to get yourself new stickers, right? I got some brand new stickers, only scams, Trudeau must go, keep calm, never vote Liberal, the whole shebang, sticker packs available. Go check it out and watch this very detailed, in-depth video. Here we go.
I'm glad to join in on today's debate on the question of privilege and the violation of parliamentary privilege by the Liberal government in refusals to produce documents as it relates to the SDTC scandal. Now, we know, and I'll just do a quick recap for those that are just tuning in. We know that the government has taken the Sustainable Development Technology Canada and turned it into a green slush fund for Liberal insiders and friends. The Auditor General did a complete investigation on the governance of SDTC.
Pay attention to this, guys. This is it.
Forward. And she found over $390 million worth of contracts were given inappropriately by the board of directors, who all had multiple conflicts of interest. Now, SDTC is a Crown corporation. It's funded fully by the taxpayers of Canada, and every person that serves on that board of directors, including its CEO, is appointed by this government. The Liberal Minister of Industry individually appoints through order in council all of those directors. It should be noted, and as a former chair of the Environment Committee who worked closely with SDTC, that the committee, or that organization, had worked perfectly until 2017. In 2017, the former Minister of Industry, Navdeep Bains, who is no longer a member in this House, went and hired on with Rogers Corporation and making a pile of money doing that. He fired the existing chair and board of SDTC and loaded it up with Liberal friends and insiders, many of them who had already received grants through Sustainable Development Technology Canada. Now, when the Auditor General started doing her research, she found that there was $58 million. We're not talking pennies here. This makes ad scam look like nickel and dime stuff. This is $58 million were awarded on 10 ineligible projects. She found another $334 million on 186 cases of money that was given to projects in which the 9 board members actually had a conflict of interest and never recused themselves from the decision-making process. And that in $58 million worth of projects, almost $59 million worth of projects, that there was no contribution agreement or terms that were ever met. Now, the Auditor General made it clear that the failure of this is upon the Liberal Minister of Industry, who didn't follow through on his oversight and making sure that governance was followed. He turned a blind eye when they found out that they were actually handing out money to Liberal insiders. And we know that the Minister of the Environment was tied to Cycle Capital, one of the companies that was receiving grants from SDTC, and we know that there was actually a board member on that fund who was also with Cycle Capital, who said that his shares increased by 1,000% after receiving SDTC funding. 1,000%. And the Minister of Environment benefited as well. That is corruption at its core. We also know that yesterday, the RCMP opened up their investigation into the 9 directors identified by the Auditor General in the SDTC Green Slush Fund scandal. But should we at all be surprised by this, Mr. Speaker? You know, this is a Liberal government that has always been ethically challenged. It is scandal-plagued, and the Liberals have a culture of corruption. And all you have to do is go back, and I mentioned ad scam from 2000 to 2004. I was elected in 2004. And we were dealing with the ad scam fallout back then. But we've witnessed it going on and on as we move forward. You know, let's not forget SNC-Lavalin scandal in 2019, where the Prime Minister put pressure on his Justice Minister at the time, Jody Wilson-Raybould, to approve contracts to and also provide a pardon to SNC-Lavalin so that they can tender on and bid on government contracts again. She said no, and the Prime Minister fired Jody Wilson-Raybould because she wouldn't follow his word. She did her job as the Attorney General of Canada in making sure that the law was respected and that these individuals weren't given a free pass for their fraudulent activities in other countries and here in Canada. We know that the Prime Minister was found in violation by the ethics commissioner for putting undue pressure on Jody Wilson-Raybould. And of course, that wasn't the first time that he had been found in violation of our ethics rules. It was only the second time, but he's the first prime minister in history to actually face an ethics scandal. We look back on the scandal of 2020, and here we had the Liberals, again, trying to shovel money into the hands of their friends at the We Charity, over $500,000. Luckily, we were able to get that stopped. But we found out, again, Liberal insiders, including Bill Marneau, who, the former Minister of Finance, was actually tied directly back to the We Charity. His daughter worked for the We Charity, and he was in there advocating not recusing himself from decision-making processes. You look at all the foreign interference that has taken place in the blind eye that has been given by these Liberals on what's happening here. The Arrive scam is another one that, again, we have millions and millions of dollars going in the pockets of two guys.
68
million. We found out later that the Arrive Can app could have been set up for about $154 million. But no, we're talking $54 million plus that was used by these individuals to enrich themselves because they were tied directly to Liberal insiders.
I think you meant 154,000. That's okay.
Let's not forget about the Winnipeg Lab Documents in 2021. In 2020 it started. The House requested and ordered for the production of documents. The government stalled it and blocked it and even took the Speaker to court to try to stop the production of these documents that showed, when we did receive them finally this year, that the two scientists in question were actually operatives for the People's Liberation Army in Beijing, and that viruses were shipped to China, that intel on different vaccines were also shipped over to China, and who knows what other security breaches happened at the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg. And the Liberals were too scared to let the public see it. And they were so scared in 2021 that instead of providing those documents and having everything come out through the Supreme Court, they called an election. And that, of course, broke Parliament, and the process stopped. I think some of us over here would actually like these guys to, call an election now, so that we can have an election that stops the documents coming forward if that's what the Liberals want to do. And Canadians can make the decision on how badly they want to put the Liberals in the penalty box based upon their continued unethical behavior and corruption that they plague their government. Now, I've mentioned that there's been ongoing ethical violations by this government as well. The Prime Minister was found to be guilty for taking a private vacation on Billionaire Island and using unsanctioned aircraft. We know that Bill Marneau was found in the WE scandal, had to resign over it. We know that the Public Safety Minister has been found guilty by the Ethics Commissioner on 2 different occasions, including awarding family members clam contracts in one of the Crown corporations. He was also found guilty of having his sister-in-law, I believe it was, made as the interim ethics commissioner.
I got to pause it for a second because I know a lot of people, and myself included in this, a lot of people like to only really just look for that confirmation bias of what is happening and a direct correlation to how many clicks and views videos have, or if it's on the mainstream media and if it's being covered. This is all true. This is real. Justin Trudeau is 100% eligible to be criminally charged by the RCMP. You have seen already so far in this speech by this Conservative member, you've seen so many of these scandals and ethics violations and wasteful hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone towards lining his own pockets and his friends and family's pockets. 100%. Unequivocally, they are eligible, him, Justin Trudeau, and other Liberal MPs, to be criminally charged. And this just kind of gets swept under the rug as like just these grungy YouTube videos and nothing is ever going to happen. But the truth is that something could happen, and it's likely, it's increasingly becoming more and more likely to happen, because it's all unraveling itself right now with this kind of Hail Mary move that the Conservatives are pulling off. And so a lot of people out there see these videos and they go, oh yeah, wow, that's cool, but why isn't it on CTV or CBC? Why do you think they don't like to do this? They have a bias. They don't like to provide their boss with bad press, but it's all 100% real. You have sworn elected officials literally talking about it right now. This is very, very important, folks. This would be a good time to remind people to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, turn post notifications on so you can stay fully up to date on this type of information.
Like, how is there any unbiased there when they're family members, and we make for interesting family gatherings like Christmas supper. And we also got the trade minister who went and gave her BFF, her campaign manager, contracts directly out of her department, out of her office, without tendering them out at all. And she was found in violation of the ethics rules. And now we have the Liberals obstructing our parliamentary process. They are also obstructing justice. Will they turn these documents over to the RCMP? I doubt it. They're going to claim some sort of cabinet secrecy. But, we have to make sure that the rules of this place, our parliamentary procedure, our Constitution, our Charter, even the British North America Act, is respected. And that's the last thing that these Liberals are doing, Mr. Speaker. Now, they keep claiming, oh, well, this is all about charter rights. And I'll just repeat what the leader of the Conservative Party said yesterday. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms is designed to protect the people from the government, not provide a cover for the government to hide documents from the people. And we have to recognize that the supremacy of our democratic institution, the Parliament of Canada, is the overall legislative body that writes the rules, that writes the laws, and directs our justice system, not the other way around. And the Liberals are always trying to tilt that discussion. So I just want to say this, that if you look at the rules, Standing Order 108(1)A, which gives the power to the House of Commons, to committees, to Parliament, to order the production of papers. And it, just to reiterate it right out of here, the House of Commons Procedures and Practice, 3rd edition, often we call it Boss Gagnon. And as we look at Chapter 3, page 137, and it says this about Parliament. It says the only limitations which could only be self-imposed would be that an inquiry should relate to the subject within the legislative competence of Parliament, particularly where witnesses and documents are required and the penal jurisdiction of Parliament is contemplated. This dovetails with the right of each House of Parliament to summon and compel the attendance of all persons within the limits of their jurisdiction. It goes on to say, the power to send for persons, papers, and records has been delegated by the House of Commons to its committees in the standing orders. It is well established that Parliament has the right to order any and all documents to be laid before it which it believes are necessary for its information. The power to call for persons, papers, and records is absolute. It's absolute.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I said that the Conservatives, metaphorically speaking, went into the cellar. They went into the dungeon of Parliament that doesn't even have a door with a doorknob on it. It's got the old school prison gates, right? The metal gates, and they unlocked it, they unlatched it, and they pulled it to the side. And there's one little tiny window about this big that shines a little bit of light, enough. And they went in there holding a lantern. Where's that book? Where's that book? Where's that book? And they get hit with cobwebs, and they got to go through all the cobwebs and try not to start a fire with their lantern. And they found this book, and they're pulling it out, and they got all their sticky notes that they need with all the pages of exactly what they were doing to pull out this Hail Mary. literally has never been done before. The Conservatives are making Canadian history happen right in front of our eyes.
And the Liberals here continue to avoid, dither, delay, deflect, rather than comply with an order of the House. And then we know, Mr. Speaker, based upon the Speaker's decision, when he came to the conclusion that this is a prima facie question of privilege that has been established, and that's what we're in here debating today and have been all week. Because in it, he said, the procedural precedents and authorities are abundantly clear. The House has the undoubted right to order the production of any and all documents from any entity or individual it deems necessary to carry out its duties. And here we have a majority of duly elected honorable members from across the country that are calling on the government to deliver. And I wonder if we're going to see the Liberals go and try to block this process again, either by taking the Speaker back to court because they do not respect Parliament, or are they going to prorogue and stop all processes again? Possibly. That's something that we're all wondering about. Or if they really think that this should be something that the people of Canada should have a say on, let's call an election. And then we can talk about things like the carbon tax and how it's impacting and hurting Canadians from coast to coast to coast. We can talk about how their out-of-control policies and hug-a-thug have created crime and chaos on our streets, the worst that we've ever seen. We can talk about how the housing crisis is making it impossible for young Canadians to achieve the Canadian dream of owning their own home. And we can talk about how the reckless spending is breaking our country, driving up inflation, and hurting employment right across this country. Never mind, productivity is on the downturn, that we are now making 50% less, or the Americans are making 50% more than we are. That to me is troubling, to say the least, because when they came to power, the financial situation in this country was strong. Canadians were making more money in the middle class than what Americans were, and now we have fallen so far back because of the uncreative and negating policies that have hurt Canadians all over our country. Now, we know that when you look at some of these situations, and I just got to find my papers here, this all came to light because of a whistleblower who's been at committee, and I just want to read some of their quotes onto the record here. And this one, I think, is a couple here that are really important. It says, first of all, the true failure of the situation stands at the feet of our current government, whose decision to protect wrongdoers and cover up their findings over the last 12 months is a serious indictment of how our democratic systems and institutions are being corrupted by political interference. By the Liberals themselves, Mr. Speaker, and we hear it here all the time, that they are not at all trying to comply with the Auditor General report or what the Industry Committee has said. They have not tried to comply with this order to produce the papers that are so necessary in getting down to the bottom of what happened here and how their friends and Liberal insiders are getting rich while the rest of us continue to get poorer.
Amen for the whistleblowers, huh?
I think the current government is more interested in protecting themselves and protecting the situation being a public nightmare, and they'd rather protect the wrongdoers and financial mismanagement than have to deal with a situation like this SDTC and the public sphere. So again, instead of bringing this out in the open, we want to talk about transparency. We know that sunlight is the best disinfectant, so let the sun shine in.
Working on it, sir.
Open up the louvers, maybe
Mr. Sunshine's on it.
And we'll actually have some actual truth and honesty coming from this Liberal government. So, Madam Speaker, I look at this and you know, the whistleblower goes on. I know the federal government, like the minister, has continued saying there was no criminal intent and nothing was found, but I think the committee would agree that they're not to be trusted on this situation. I would happily agree to whatever the findings are by the RCMP, but I would say that I wouldn't trust that there isn't any criminality unless the RCMP is given full authority to investigate. And as we know now, the RCMP is going to do their job and going to get down to the bottom of this. You know, when you look at this scandal, you know, SDTC had their hands on about $100 million a year of taxpayer money to hand out to help new startup organizations, companies, bring in new sustainable type projects, new technologies, and help Canadians with bringing in some of these new technologies to deal with everything from wastewater to greenhouse gas emissions to new software programs that will help reduce waste in our homes. And yet, because of the political interference that we saw from Navdeep Bains when he was Minister of Industry, by the Order in Council appointments that were made through him by this Prime Minister and his Liberal cabinet, that we're seeing individuals come in and ultimately enrich themselves. The key problem in all this is that the SDTC executives, when they were put in as Liberal insiders, decided instead of helping out other companies, they decided to enrich themselves. They decided to help their own companies and grant themselves their own government funds, which is a complete violation and criminality of proper governance. And the Minister of Industry decided to willfully turn a blind eye, and the Liberals have been trying to cover this up ever since.
And it all ends now. It all ends now with involving the RCMP and escalating this to criminal investigation and criminal charges. The Liberals, Justin Trudeau, everyone involved with all of these SDTC scandals, the slush fund, everything there, they've had many, many, many opportunities. They thought they buried this book. They couldn't get rid of it. They thought they buried it. They thought they buried this rule book down in that cellar, but the Conservatives went in. They went in with their lantern. They went in searching, and they found it. And this is not going to end well for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. And if for some reason, somehow, they find the book that counters this book, Trudeau finds a book that counters this book, and they find a way to block what the Conservatives are trying to do right now, I mean, it's going to be the biggest corruption scandal that we have ever seen, where they're blocking, quite literally, the RCMP from conducting their investigation into this. The RCMP has already began their investigation, as we've heard during the question period on Friday, which nobody shows up for, right? Luckily, House Canada, we stream it, got over 30,000 views, right? 40,000 views. It's phenomenal. Thank you so much to the community. But nonetheless, more and more people have to be aware of what's going on, which is why it's so, so important to smash the like button, subscribe, and share the videos out. You don't even have to be subscribed. It helps. It helps. But share the videos out so more and more people can be aware of what's going on. Because I'll be honest, I'll be the first to admit, this stuff right here, this can put me to sleep, right? Some people put white noise, sounds of rain, right? A jungle sound next to their bed when they go to sleep. Other people listen to podcasts, right? Maybe Joe Rogan or something like that. Some people can listen to Parle-Vu, our politicians talk, because it's dry and it's long and it's tedious. But this is government. This is government. This is politics. And that's how it's been. It's how it's going to continue to be. But we're trying to change it. Just as you heard the member say, we need to disinfect it with some sunshine. Mr. Sunshine is here reporting for duty, sir or ma'am. I don't know. What's the pronoun? Reporting for duty. Person? Who knows? Nonetheless, we're doing our job and Conservatives are doing theirs.
Breaking news. The RCMP Commissioner confirmed that the Prime Minister's hand-picked directors to the Green Slush Fund are under criminal investigation. So what we have now is the Liberals not only defying an order of this House to produce the documents and turn them over to the RCMP, Liberals are now obstructing justice by refusing to cooperate with the RCMP investigation. 9 Green Slush Fund appointees have been implicated in funneling $400 million to their own companies. Are Liberals obstructing justice so their cronies can avoid jail?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Wow.
House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. And I am disappointed in the Conservative Party's approach, and I'm not alone. If you take a look in terms of what it is that the Auditor General of Canada is saying and the RCMP is saying in regards to the Conservative tactic, and people should really note this, they are extremely uncomfortable. You have caused a great deal of discomfort to those independent offices because of your behavior here on the floor of the House of Commons.
The Honourable Member to speak through the chair. I hope I haven't caused anything to anyone.
Wow.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Yeah, you can't address him directly.
Madam Speaker, I would suggest to you that the Conservative Party needs to be more sensitive and listen to what the RCMP.
The Honourable Member for South Shore St. Margaret.
There it is.
This House is listening to the RCMP when the RCMP Commissioner said yesterday that he's investigating the corruption at the Green Slush Fund. You know, they use as an excuse the Charter. The Charter does not exist to protect Liberals and prevent and create obstruction of justice opportunities. As Liberals cling to dear life to the secret documents, they obstruct justice. Hundreds of millions of dollars have already been funneled to Liberal cronies. What's the true number? Is it billions? Is it 2 billion? Will the Liberal who is obstructing justice and knows the true amount of
the Honourable Parliament.
Please stand up. Wow, this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Conservative Party playing games at a great expense to Canadians, solely focused on their party fortunes and anything else, as opposed to trying to do filibusters on the floor of the House of Commons. Why don't they listen? Listen to what the RCMP, listen to what the Auditor General is saying, Madam Speaker. And what they are saying is this Conservative tactic causes great concern, and it's justified as the Conservatives are trying to blur the whole issue of judicial independence. Shame on them.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Heritage.
So the RCMP Commissioner, for those that didn't catch that, has confirmed that they are investigating Justin Trudeau, as per that Conservative MP. I'll say that one more time. For crying out loud, the RCMP Commissioner has confirmed that they are launching an investigation criminally into Justin Trudeau. So it is happening, folks. You just heard it right there, and the Liberal MP did not deny it. They're saying that it's unfair and unjust. And this brings me back to the talking point that I made at the start of this video. It's happening. Something you've never seen before. We've talked about how the RCMP should get involved, but the Conservatives found a legal loophole. Somebody went down into the basement of Parliament, into a locked door, or must have, and broke through it. Maybe the lock wasn't working. They got through all the cobwebs, right? And they found this book that said, that was behind a piece of glass that said, break in case of emergency. And they broke it, and they're reading the book, and it was like, hey, by the way, if there's really a lack of confidence in the running government, the party, and there's substantial evidence to show that they are breaking laws, criminal laws, then you can use this. And that's what the Conservatives are doing right now. The RCMP Commissioner has confirmed yesterday that they are investigating Justin Trudeau. So it is happening, folks. It's happening. And the only way that Trudeau can get out of it is if he releases the documents, right? He has to release the unredacted documents, which would incriminate him. Or I don't know what the other option is. None of us really know, because this is the first time it's ever happened. He releases the documents and he incriminates himself, or he lets time go on, and then maybe the RCMP Commissioner says, okay, we've investigated and there's nothing there, but we all know that's not going to happen. And so this is what happens when Liberals are not listening to Canadians, and the Conservatives have pulled off like the biggest Hail Mary that we've ever seen in Canadian history, and it's phenomenal. And before I hit play, let's drop some W's in the chat for for Pierre, for the Conservative team for doing this, because there's a lot of confusion around this. But just know that some crazy stuff is happening for the first time ever in Canadian history, and it's very likely to land Justin Trudeau criminally charged, or other Liberal MPs criminally charged or held accountable to some degree with the law. It's phenomenal, right? They're playing this high IQ level chess.
Freedoms, not the charter of crime and corruption, as the Deputy House Leader seems to contend. 9 years of NDP Liberals. Taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up. Guess what? Conflict of interest is up too.
Hey.
Green Slush Fund, the Auditor General reported 82% of transactions, nearly $400 million poured into the pockets of Liberal insiders. The House demanded the government hand these documents to the RCMP. The Prime Minister refuses. How many more millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars?
Well, parliamentary secretary.
Thank you.
Oh, he's screwed.
You know, I would note that the member made reference to the Charter of Rights. You know, yesterday I heard Conservative member say that parliamentarians should have the right to put people in jail, Madam Speaker. They have no credibility when it comes to the issue of the Charter of Rights and protecting judicial independence. They are literally laughable yesterday in terms of their performance on this issue. They should be ashamed of the way in which they throw to the side the independent office
Misinformation.
RCMP, and they walk on the
Honourable member for Calgary.
Okay. That right there is blatant mis and disinformation. The Conservatives, there is nobody from the Conservative Party that is suggesting that, hey, look, they are going to go and arrest and have criminally charged civilians. That is extremely misleading, very disingenuous. It's mis and disinformation at the highest level, probably with a hint of Russian propaganda in there. Throw at them what they've thrown at Conservatives, right? No, the Conservatives have given Liberals a chance. They've called 2 votes of non-confidence, and other parties have blocked it from happening. Justin Trudeau is not taking accountability for these slush funds, for all of the corruption, for which Randy is it, the millions, billions of dollars that has gone to wasteful spending towards pocketing himself and all of his friends and family. And now Carbon Tax Carney is, you know, in that spotlight. You stepped in at the wrong time, buddy. I really have to say. Not that I want to protect, you know, Carbon Tax Carney's reputation. I think that he's exactly where he should be with all of the corruption, and that's very unfortunate for him. But no, what that Liberal MP just said, they are not. The Conservatives, Pierre, is not going after civilians. He's not saying, hey, that person walking down the street, John Doe, right? Let's go after him. Nope, that's not at all what's happening. Pierre has given ample amount of time for the Liberals to take accountability for their actions, to come forward. They've done investigations. It always gets blocked. They've had committee hearings. It gets blocked and denied by NDP. They've had this sense of immunity. They've had this shelter of immunity and the halo around them, which compiles of the NDP and the Bloc. And this freaking Hail Mary that they found, I mean, I see the last super chat here on the live stream says, not a religious man, but thank the Lord for whatever Conservative went down to the basement and found a loophole that might have saved Canada. Absolutely. Like, that's exactly what they are doing right now. This is huge. And I really encourage everyone to, you know, subscribe to this channel, to the, you know, my MSB one, House of Canada, and turn post notifications on, because this is going to hit the fan in a way that we've never, ever seen before. There's no way around this. They can't just say, no, we're not doing it. The RCMP is now literally involved, the commissioner of the RCMP. There's too much eyes, there's too much attention, and this legal workaround that they've found is just like chef's kiss. Mwah, beautiful. It's phenomenal. So the Liberals are flinging mud, and they don't know what's about to hit them. They're perpetuating lies and mis and disinformation with probably a hint of Russian propaganda in there to try and add, you know, more social points, so social credits points, right? Whatever you want to call it, to them saying, oh, wow, look, Conservatives are big and bad. Liberals are big and bad. You guys have had so many opportunities, so many chances to come forward and call an election so we can move on. Stop holding Canadians hostage. And now the cops are involved. Uh-oh.
Heritage.
Madam Speaker, the Charter protects people from government, not politicians
Bam.
from prison. I think that the Deputy House Leader would be well advised to think about how every parliamentarian is not above the law. Well,
Honestly, that's like the best bumper sticker or slogan I've heard. You know, the Charter of Rights protects people from government, not politicians from police or jail. Like, that is just freaking phenomenal, man. These guys are just on point. And it's unfortunate that on this Friday's episode here, that the House is empty, the government shut down, they can't do anything. All they can talk about is this. That's it. They can't talk about anything else. All they can talk about is very few and select things. And it sucks that it's not a full House, but people go out and about and do their thing, right? A lot of them return home to their constituency and stuff like that. So it's nuts. This is crazy. This is underwhelming. This is the thing about politics that just gets swept under the rug, right? The important stuff like this, because people are like, it's not really that interesting. There's only a few people. There's only a few people in the House. How important can it be? We're finding out it's extremely important. Extremely. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the video. On your way out, I would like to highly encourage you guys to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. And just a gentle reminder that there are new stickers, new sticker packs that are available for purchase. Link down below in the description and the pinned comment below. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and we'll see you tomorrow on the weekend. Bye for now.